Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we're back for another Law School Tech Talk. I am, as always, your host, David Dickens. With me, doing everything, is Debbie Ginsburg.
Hello.
Thank you, Debbie, for all your help coming to us from Chicago, Kent, and pushing all the buttons and making sure everything works for us this morning. We have everybody out. I think that's going to be kind of catch as catch can across our summer. I know that folks have complicated schedules over the next few months as people work out on their big projects, take their vacations, go to conferences. And I really appreciate those of you who are able to tune in with us this morning, or if you're watching this delayed. We're not going to have a really long episode this morning, but we're going to keep schedule over the summer. Really want to keep connected with folks, and particularly about some of the cool things that are going on this summer, like the CALI conference and whatnot. So please feel free to tune in and keep the tweets coming. Keep the comments coming for us. I do appreciate that, and everyone sort of joining us as we sort of take a relaxing trip across the summer. I once had someone ask me, well, now the students aren't there. Well, except for the 2-year accelerated program and the ADR students. Well, never mind. Now that the
Sorry.
students are there, you guys must not have much work to do. Actually, it's always been my experience that the work was more intense over the summer, apart from, say, like the period around finals or whatever, because the big projects come in, the things that you can only do when students aren't occupying every open space and every classroom can't go down. So everything from upgrading the computer classroom PCs to rebuilding the lab and public workstation PCs, the sort of ordinary stuff like that, to big projects. I know we've got a big thing going on with CRM here at Pepperdine. Love to hear about other folks involved in that. If someone out there listening is doing a big CRM project, we're playing with Salesforce. Maybe you're playing with something else. I would love to have you on sometime and talk about CRM. It's not something we've really dealt with yet.
And what is CRM?
Customer relations management. Really, that's the phrase, but I think a lot of people talk these days really more about life cycle. The big thing is trying to take a student from the moment that they're first interested in going to law school, in theory, all the way till when they bequest something in their will at the other end of their life. Theoretically that's the life cycle, but since in law school so much is known and so easily managed via the LSAT, like the ACES system and stuff like that, in terms of getting people into the system and reaching out and making contact with people that schools feel are really good recruits. I think that maybe for a lot of people that system, because everyone who wants to go to law school takes the LSAT, is probably so well refined, it's going to be hard to beat that. Maybe for undergrads, something like Salesforce or other solutions is more compelling. But there's still a life cycle during school, and there's still a life cycle for career development and alumni relations and stuff afterwards. So there's even if the front end may not be what everyone may not be as sharp and as sharply honed for a lot of people as the current system in place for law schools that we get to enjoy. The rest of the life cycle is very much applicable to us. So Salesforce has got a package together. I'm actually going to be going to a Salesforce conference this summer and taking a look at exactly what tools are most useful. So unfortunately, that means I'm not going to be at CALI. I wish I were. I hope you all are. CALI's great. I'm going to miss it. I wish I could be there. Obviously, folks are excited about being able to go to Harvard. Was quite a few years ago. Was in Boston. We were in Boston before, but didn't get a chance to. I didn't get a chance when I was there to visit Harvard. I'm hoping people will really enjoy it. Debbie, I believe you're going to be giving a presentation, aren't you, at CALI?
Yeah, I'll be at CALI this year. I'm going as AALL's representative to CALI, so I'll also be writing up a report for the American Association of Law Libraries about the conference. Emily Barney, who is one of the librarians in Chicago, Kent, and I will be presenting on using Google Apps certification and really getting into the nuts and bolts of the different tools that are available, particularly what sort of tools you have to kludge once you transition from Outlook to Google Apps, and all the really interesting things it can do, from all the things Google Drive can do to all the things Google Sites can do. So we'll be covering quite a bit, along with some of the issues that come up along the way and some of the questions people have had. Emily will also be presenting how she has transitioned our student organization websites from HTML pages or sites that were managed outside of the school servers to a WordPress multi-site, and how she put in place a lot of policies and how she developed the different templates that she used to make that project happen. So that'll be a couple of things we're presenting at Chicago Kent that we're excited about.
Wow, that's really cool. I'm a big fan. Obviously, we use Hangouts for this show. I mean, I like Google Apps for education. For some folks, it's a challenge to make them work well with their in synergy with their LMS. I mean, because so much has been developed, or so much time has been invested in whatever LMS people are using. Have you how have you seen the usability going back and forth between, say, Google Apps and like Twin or something like that?
Right now, Twin continues to be the main support for our LMS, though we are investigating other alternatives, just so people can choose what works best for them. Really, Google Apps, what they've been focusing on are the individual aspects that might then be incorporated into Twin. So a document that might be shared, sometimes they'll email the class through Twin, sometimes they'll email the class just through Gmail. Right now we're still working on the transition, the base transition, though it's been a couple of years of, hey, we did all this stuff using Office, now we're using Google Apps, how do we make the transition? We still have Word, Excel, those kinds of things available to us, but there's a lot that we are trying to show them that they can do within Drive that just isn't possible with your standard version of Office. And that's increasing excitement to see, oh, I can create a Google Doc and everyone can edit it once. There's a lot of possibility there. Oh, I can create a Google site that has a lot of functionality, particularly maybe not as an LMS, but as an intranet. Let's see what we can do with that.
Have you thought about Google Apps for an e-portfolio for students?
We will be discussing one of the things that Chicago Kent is working on next year is something called the Praxis Certificate. A bit of an odd name, but it's going to help the students show that they've developed certain, useful skills, so they may have been in moot court or in clinic, but we're also going to help them develop their online presence, not necessarily through a formal e-portfolio program, but we'll show them the different tools, including Google Apps, that they could use to develop a complete portfolio, rather than, I guess, undergrads often have a portfolio system where you upload everybody in a template. That won't work for us, so we want them to be thinking of their presence, again, back to the idea of a life cycle, where they may be using different tools, including Google Apps.
Hey, Ben Chapman, welcome aboard. I hope your car is okay.
My car is not okay, and I got a ride back. So I am so sorry that I'm.
Oh no, it's good to have you. I'm sorry about your car. We were just talking about CALI and about Debbie's presentation on Google Apps and a little bit about that sort of thing. Have you guys? What's the penetration of Google Apps there at Emory? I mean, is it?
I would say, unfortunately, it's almost zero. We are a mostly Microsoft shop at the university level, very big on Exchange, things like that. We use Google Web Tools, but they really haven't used Google Apps. Now, I'm actually trying to change that. I just bought 10 Chromebooks.
Summer project.
I'm a Chromebook fan, and they get better and better. And Dell now has these Dell Chromebooks that have gotten fantastic reviews. And for $300, you get 10-hour battery life. And in my opinion, they're a better idea than iPads. But for what we do,
sure. No, I understand. Well, and I've noticed that the last few surveys that I've taken a look at online, I follow a lot of education blogs and whatnot, and post on Google all the time. And the last few ones that I've posted all say that students agree pretty consistently with this, that they love their iPads for playing games and for watching movies. But the truth is, when they sit down to class, the laptop form factor is still just it. They'd rather have their phone and their laptop and keep the iPad out of the.
Well, another thing that's interesting, I noticed this at committee meetings and staff meetings and things like that. We've gotten to the point where people working at a certain level almost always have an iPad.
Yeah.
But they almost immediately add a keyboard to it and whip it out in a sort of laptop configuration anyway when we're in meetings. I mean, there are all these great things you can do with an iPad. Cannot do with a laptop. But I am intrigued by just straight out Google Apps style stuff. A lot of what we do is pretty traditional. It doesn't necessarily require pinching and zooming on a screen.
Yeah, you talk about meetings. I've really tried myself several different form factors. I've got an Android tablet. I've got a laptop, and I'm frustrated by the fact that I have a weekly meeting with my supervisor, right? To go over projects, go over just that touch base meeting. It's a short meeting. It's not even like a big heavy project meeting. I cannot get out of I almost can't get away from having a stinking piece of paper that I print out. I've tried everything else, but just to scrawl notes on, it just seems like even in a short pickup meeting like that, it's extraordinarily difficult. I suppose if I took a full laptop into it, I might be able to do it that way. But
I gotta say,
tablets don't have it enough for me. I just can't quite scrawl notes with a tablet.
Okay, I use Evernote for that exact purpose, and it works really well for me. So
on a tablet.
Right.
On the tablet, I take a quick note, a couple words here and there, go back.
Thumbing a note away, right?
Type it on my fingers. I've gotten used. It's been 4 years now. I've gotten used to typing on the thing.
All right, maybe it's my ham hocks.
I was just going to say, plus I've seen Debbie type. She types phenomenally fast.
Not accurately, but fast.
So maybe that's it. Debbie, I go back and forth between Evernote and paper. I wind up using paper more. I don't know why. Maybe because I'm old. But like you, David. I want something to work. I want something to work better. But circling all the way back to Google Apps, the number one reason that we don't have more Google App penetration here is we try to stay in sync between Emory Healthcare and Emory University, and because of HIPAA issues, that's really impacted the penetration of things like Google Apps. Whereas
they took the ads off for you.
No,
I'm not sure if that's enough to qualify.
Apparently, we have a BAA agreement with Microsoft with regard to Office 365. What we're doing via Office is apparently protectable. I haven't followed any of this.
Sure.
Protected, or if you do the right things, it's protected. But we never got that kind of traction with Google. I mean, they were never. That's not their target. They're not interested in providing that.
Are you headed to CALI?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to be doing a 3-hour workshop.
Woo!
Yeah, Elmer. I like Elmer. Elmer's like, it's been too long since you've spoken. And I'm like, sure, I'll do a proposal. And he goes, I've set aside 3 hours. That sounds like punishment.
Are you going to install Slackware for us?
Yeah, off floppies. No, I don't. I'm doing VirtualBox plus Mint plus a little bit of some tips and tricks around VirtualBox and things like that. And if anyone is listening out there, I don't want this to be the usual geeks who've been installing VirtualBox for 10 years and just come to critique. I want it to be people who have some interest in virtualization, have never done this before. I'm non-threatening. This will be a friendly, collaborative little workshop. So yeah,
Ben the Teddy Bear Chapman.
Yeah, big teddy bear. The teddy bear of open source.
There we go. You know, it reminds me because you were mentioning that I'm very interested to hear how the Dell Chromebooks work out for you. My first Chromebook experience was my attempt at self-help using a Dell Mini 9 and Hexor's vanilla
Yeah.
Chromium
Yeah.
build. That was painful. So I.
Right. Well, and I also have tried various generic Android tablets back in the day, and it would give you the wrong view of Android.
Yeah.
You know, certainly the I I don't know. I'm well, in a year I will have a better sense of whether
Yeah, I'd love to hear
to
it
leverage these.
when you evaluate the progress on that. Also, CALI's coming. Other conferences this summer? Are either of you guys heading anyplace else besides CALI?
I've
Yes.
got one. Where are you going, Dick?
I'm going to AALL, which I do pretty much every year. One of the interesting things, and unfortunately I'm not going to get to attend this, there's going to be a hackathon, which is going to be an all-day workshop on Saturday, and it's going to be really interesting to see what gets produced at the Law Library and Hackathon. I think this is the first time anything like this has ever been tried. So take a look out and see what comes out of the Saturday hackathon.
Cool.
I think it's cool.
I think that sounds great.
Fabulous.
I'm going to the Sloan Consortium Blended Learning Conference in
Cool.
Denver. We're really trying to. I'm actually going to be shifting away from things like VirtualBox and focusing much more on blended learning.
Yeah.
In the next year or two. We really see that as something we need to focus on. How about you?
For me, it's just I mentioned earlier in the broadcast before you got here. It's going to be CRM and Salesforce. You know, there are we're heavily involved in the university's implementation, but there's going to be some specialized lifting for us. I mean, as I mentioned before, the LSAC system. Using ACEs and things like that to generate leads in the front end, I think is very ubiquitous among law schools and very finely honed tool. It's going to be very difficult for Salesforce, a much more general tool, to be able to compete with those specific tools. But I think the rest of the life cycle of the student it really fascinates me. There's some things I love the folks over at AppointLink. We've been looking at like their stuff too for the part of the life cycle sort of in the middle. But you know, it's going to be interesting to see how Salesforce does what it does and what it can offer, and what AppointLink has. And there's going to be some interesting stuff. The scandals around simplicity are also kind of interesting. I didn't talk about those earlier, but some of the naughty behavior of some folks there. I don't have the link for you. Debbie looks quizzically. I don't have the links for you here. I wish I did, but
I remember
back
this.
on
Okay.
Google Plus. I have a few, like last week I think or something.
Well,
From Inside Higher Ed, I think was the source.
Yeah, their CEO is going away. I think it's 14 months. And
Yeah. They were bad. They were like poking around other people's business and other competitors and stuff like that in ways that are not kosher pickles.
Yeah, and
so the life cycle of students.
Well, I'm fascinated by the Salesforce stuff, and the great thing about Salesforce is that you've got that enormous ecosystem of people around Salesforce, which also, of course, makes it easy to spend money. It's one of those products where it seems like the cost of entry is pretty low.
Very low.
And it just goes up and up.
Yeah. Well, you know, because really what you're buying, honestly, what you're buying is a platform. You're not buying anything. You're buying the ability to buy other things. And those other things like Target X and stuff like that, that are directed towards higher ed, are really where the focus of the attention becomes quickly after getting people on board. It's kind of funny, you bring people on, or Radian 6 for social media stuff or whatever like that. Had a very interesting presentation by someone at Stanford how they're using Radian 6 to track and respond to things that are going on in the news and their faculty and stuff and on social media. It's pretty cool stuff. But Salesforce just allows you to do that. Really, it's nothing in and of itself, really. All right, so we've been here, we've done that, we've had another episode. I thank you everyone who followed along and who are watching this Time Shifted. I hope you guys are all going to have a wonderful time at CALI. Go to Legal Seafood and enjoy that too. Hopefully, other great Boston opportunities. I'll be thinking about all of you and tuning in as much as I possibly can remotely to the sessions. Hopefully, that's going to be easy. Some years have been worked out really well to be able to pipe in that way. I know from Pepperdine we've got Paul Caron at least coming out. He's going to be giving a presentation on his on the blog network. And what he's seen out there in weblogs and social media and stuff and what's been going on. So I think he's going to be our contingent this year. So wishing you all well, and thank you again, Ben. I'm sorry about your car. It was good to have you on, though, for what you could.
Sorry I was late, and sorry I let down the team there as far as.
Oh no. As usual, Debbie just does everything, right?
Pretty much.
Thank you, Debbie, very, very much.
You're welcome.
Have a great day, everybody.
All right. Have a good
Bye.
one.